we were talking about a concept that I don't hear talked about too much, calorie cycling. And now maybe you've heard it like framed as like a hack, or maybe like you eat some more some days, less on others. Maybe you trick your metabolism, things like that. So we want to break this down in a way that actually makes sense, because I think it's something that can be very useful in your health journey, right? So we're going to go over what calorie cycling is, when it can be useful, when it's not necessarily, and when we use it with clients without overcomplicating things. Like, we like things simple, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, so when it comes to what calorie cycling actually is, at its core, it just means you're not eating the same number of calories every single day. Days are going to be higher, some are going to be lower, but over the week, you're still averaging the intake that matches your goal, whether that's fat loss, maintenance, or performance. So instead of 2,000 calories a day every day, for example, it may look like higher calorie days on your harder training days or lower calorie days on rest or lighter days. It's the same weekly average though, just distributed a little bit differently. And I think that's what's important is calorie cycling doesn't work if the weekly average isn't aligned with your goal. You can't outcycle overeating. And I will say too, for a good starting point, we have a new guide that we built out that's called 5 Steps to Your Next 5 Pounds Down. It breaks down the super simple next steps you need to implement to drop your next 5 pounds without any extremes or starting over. So we'll link that in the show notes to download. It's totally free.
Yeah, so I have an old teammate, Kathy Alexander of mine, and she was my first teammate in school, and she is an amazing chef, baker. She does all amazing things, and she, every now and then bakes something for me. But she knows also that, I'm very healthy, and the things that I eat are not necessarily the things that she makes, right? She's retired. She's like a legend. She's retired, but I was working with her today. She was subbing, and she said, "Hey, I'm going to sub Friday," and she goes, I'm telling you right now, so you can work some of your calories around. So I'm making some banana bread for you. And I just kind of laughed because I was like, "Oh, Kathy, you know me so well." She's like, "I know." She goes, "I know you got to work, you got to move around some of those calories for this or whatever." And she's like, "I used to laugh at you, make fun of you because you'd bring in one little square of dark chocolate, and that was all you had." I was like, "That's all I needed." But I, I've gotten into it more recent in terms of like really diving into the calorie cycling. At first, when I really got back into tracking, I was like, I got to hit this like perfect number every single day. And I started realizing that that's not life. That's not reality. That's not being flexible at all. And I realized there's some days where I might want, like Taco Tuesday. I go way over on Taco Tuesday, right? But if I just do that and I'm never doing anything else the rest of the week, then the progress can be so slow. So I was like, why don't I just kind of fluctuate? I'll have some higher days, some lower days, and it's worked out really well. And so I feel like it's just a more natural fit, and you can just be more flexible, and you feel a lot less restrictive. Right. And so she's right. Like, so when she brings in the banana bread, I'll work it around a little bit, or I'll just go higher the day and I'll go a little bit lower the next day. So that's one of the reasons why I think people are drawn to it. So let's look at a few of the things. So one, sometimes people look at it and say, okay, well, my fat loss is slowed or stalled. Or they're just mentally burned out from eating the same amount every single day. They're trying to hit that magic number every single day. And their lifestyle, which is probably most of us, is not consistent every day. So that makes it difficult as well. So especially people with busy schedules, people who have a lot of social plans, variable training, eating that exact same calories every single day, to me, it feels real unrealistic. So it gives you flexibility without throwing away that structure, and when being still able to track it and get the results you want. And sometimes that flexibility alone, I think, just improves the adherence, improves the fact that I'm going to be able to do this, which really is the driver of the results. If you don't have the consistency of doing what you need to do, then you're just not going to see the results. It's just kind of like cardio. We've talked about that before. If you just have the exact same thing every single day, your body kind of adapts to it and says, okay, well, this is where we're living. And if it's lower, we're going to have to slow down metabolism. It doesn't trick it. I don't like to say it tricks it, but it just gives us a body a chance, or doesn't allow our body to adapt to it.
Yeah. And from a physiology standpoint, there can be benefits too, but they're often overstated online. I think for one, higher calorie days can support your training performance, can help improve recovery, and temporarily boost energy and mood. And psychologically, those higher days can reduce the diet fatigue, which matters a lot for people if you've been dieting for a long time. So I do think and this overall, I feel like it's a concept that you don't hear a lot of people talk about either. So I'm glad that we're doing an episode on it. But again, the key here to remember is calorie cycling doesn't reset your metabolism, like you said. It doesn't trick your metabolism in a meaningful way on its own. Like if you're chronically under eating, cycling calories without addressing that first won't fix the problems. You can't out strategize the stress metabolism. So at least keep that in mind.
Right. And I really feel it gives you more control, right? It gives you more of a say of how you want to do things. Like my example with Taco Tuesday. It allows me to eat more calories on that day. And then I just, somewhere throughout the week, I just have less calories so that my average at the end of the week is where I want it to be. And I like to think about clients who may be having a dinner that they're going to. They have it planned. Maybe they're going out to dinner Friday night. And instead of restricting that night or getting anxious about what am I going to eat there and like that, okay, well, this is what I'm going to eat and this is what I'm going to go over. So I just need to, play around with some other days, go a little bit less. You might have a day where you're just slammed with meetings and you're not able to eat that much. And so your calories are all lower. Okay, well, that's going to even out throughout the week if you have some higher calorie days as well. So it's the opposite of feeling restricted, I feel like.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like that's kind of how I tend to use it. Like I never really viewed it as like a structured thing I did. I feel like I kind of just did it naturally here and there. But it's like some days like I said, like I'm busy, I'm on calls all day and like I'm just like not that hungry, or like I'll get to the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I have all these calories to eat. I'm not going to shove a bunch of food before I go to bed. So I'm like, I'll just eat more then. Or like usually on weekends is when I'll go out to eat it for a meal. So it's like, oh, I'll just make it up. I'll eat a little bit more on that day. So it does happen more naturally and it gives you more of that control without needing to feel perfect. Like, oh, I need to hit this number today. It's like it evens out. Your body doesn't magically reset like at midnight every night.
Well, and I'm glad you made that comment about sometimes let's say you had like 400 calories left in the day and you're like, I feel like I need to get this 400 calories to meet this goal, as opposed to like, well, my body's saying I'm really not that hungry. I don't really need it. Okay, well, fine. Don't eat those 400 calories. Use them throughout the week when you actually might want to use them. All right, so let's talk about when it actually makes sense for somebody. So one, you're already pretty consistent. If you're, one day 3,000, the next day 1,800, and you're just all over the place, this isn't really for you right now, right? You got to be a little more consistent with what you're doing with your macros. If you understand portion awareness and macros in general, I think that's key to this. If you're not brand new to fat loss, sometimes if you're brand new, it's probably good, at least for a little while, to get the hang of consistently hitting those calories. And then if your training demands are change, I should say, like from week to week, that can be very useful for them. So especially useful for lifters, like when they have a hard training day, like whether the day of, like maybe you had a really awesome workout, it was super high intense that morning, but a lot of volume in it. Later on that day, you might need to fuel that workout. Or if you had a later workout, maybe the next day is when the day you fuel that workout. People who train fewer days, but maybe train hard, that kind of goes along with that. And then people who want more calories on certain days. Maybe it's going out at a social event, or you're watching a big game or something, without feeling that guilt and without feeling like, oh my gosh, like that anxiety of what am I going to do with this? In those cases, we mentioned it can definitely improve performance. I think it greatly enhances like mood, right? Because you feel really good about it, you feel in control about it, adherence. So you're going to be more consistent with it and you're going to actually want to do it. And all that's going to support fat loss.
Yeah, and so kind of going on the other end, when it's not a good idea for people, usually it's not going to be the right tool. Again, like if you're new to nutrition, I think we need that baseline of consistency and knowledge and awareness. And especially too, if you struggle with overeating on those higher days, or you tend to turn the higher days into a free-for-all, or it's like you have a little bit more and then it kind of sets you off on like that binge cycle, or just you can't really control yourself around food, then it's probably not the best route to go. Or if you're already underfueled and super stressed. For those people, consistency matters more than the variation, and eating roughly the same amount every day builds trust with food, builds a better relationship with food in your body. And so I think sometimes people can use that calorie cycling too early as a way to avoid discipline, and then it'll backfire.
All right, we still always need to have a plan.
Always.
Okay, so how do we actually implement it? We make it as simple as possible. There are certain cases where this might be good, but for the most people, and if you're listening, this is probably you, no extreme highs and lows. Like we don't want to go just like so high one day and so low on another day. That just makes it very difficult sometimes to stay consistent, or sometimes we just go out of control on those high days, which end up being higher than we wanted. And then those lower days, it's a struggle. Like we don't want you feeling horrible throughout the day because you went so high another day, right? So a common setup might be something like slightly higher, like a few hundred calories on the days that you're training hard or the days after you're training hard, and then slightly lower calories maybe on rest days or days that are a little bit slower, you're not as active. And just like a few hundred calories. We're not talking about thousands of calories here. Protein, I think, should stay consistent no matter what. So even if let's say your goal let's just say your goal is 180 grams of protein every day, even on the lower calorie days, I still think you should try to hit the 180, and on the higher, you should definitely hit 180 plus. It's a little bit different. We've talked about that. It's okay for the calories to average that out at the end of the week. The protein goal, we really need to hit that every single day. So you're just locked in on the protein for that day. That's really like a non-negotiable type of thing. And we can just anchor the higher days around the training or social events. And like you said, we want to have a plan. We don't just want to be like random days that it kind of turns into chaos. And then you have a hard time. It just blends all into one, out of control day or week, whatever. And then that becomes a habit. So we want to make sure we still have a good plan for it.
Yeah, and I think some of the biggest mistakes that we'll see people make is one, like you're mentioning, too big of a calorie gap between days. Because I talk to so many people where it's like, oh yeah, like I just eat one meal a day, or I have breakfast and I don't eat the rest of the day, or I don't eat all day and then I eat dinner. And so it's like, I can imagine sometimes people use that as an excuse to be like, oh, I didn't eat much yesterday, so I can go and have 4,000 calories the next day. And that's just gonna set you up for one, not the best relationship with food. Your body's not going to respond really well. Going to be a lot more inflammation, digestive issues. So it just like you said, you want to do more smaller, manageable adjustments than just a couple hundred calories. And we don't want to treat those higher calorie days like a cheat day, like a free for all. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to go get a burger, like go off the rails. So it's like still eating the right foods, like you said, still sticking to the protein and not cycling between those extremes. And then also we want to make sure that we aren't ignoring the weekly averages, like still needs to add up to the right amount. And I think that kind of ties into not treating it like a cheat day and going completely off the rails. It's like numbers still matter, but it's just like allowing for that variability day to day. And then another mistake too is just using cycling to justify under eating most of the week. So that way you can go crazy on the weekend. So it's like, we still want a lot of general consistency with the types of food you're eating, the quantities you're eating, but it can vary a little bit. But overall, if calorie cycling increases stress, obsession, or loss of control, it's not going to be the right strategy for you.
Yeah. That's always a given, right? If it causes a lot more stress or a lot more obsession with something, that maybe that's a sign that it's not the best thing for you. But yeah, use it to match up with your training. Eat more on heavy training days, less maybe on days that are really long at work, or you're just sitting around, you're not very active. And like we said, have a plan for it. I think that's the biggest thing. Plan that out and be intentional about why you're doing it and how you're doing it. All right, so bottom line, calorie cycling, I think, is a cool tool. Definitely not a requirement, but I think it's not going to make or break the fat loss, but I think it can definitely help, right? So consistency, right? Adequate fueling, sleep, stress management, training quality, still is going to matter much more than how we distribute those calories, right? So, but if cycling helps you stay consistent and it helps you to enjoy your life better, feel less restrictive, and it makes things more simple, then I'm all for it. If it complicates things, I'm out, right? Keep it simple.
Exactly. Find what feels best, what feels most aligned for you, and try things too. Like, it doesn't hurt to go and try these new things and new tools. It's all just a tool in your tool belt that you can experiment with and see what resonates with you as far as the structure, as far as how you feel. But it's definitely not something you need, but just experiment, find what works. That's all about what fitness is finding what works for your body, getting in tune with your body and being able to run with that. So if you are consistent and experienced and looking for more of that flexibility, it can be useful in the right context. Yeah, like I said, feel free to check out our 5 steps, the next 5 pounds down. We breaks down basically how we approach plateaus, adjustments, and momentum. Again, without cycling through extremes, we want to make sure it's all simple and straightforward. So that link is in the show notes. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Share it with your friends, and we'll catch you on the next one.